The UX 360 Research Summit Europe 2026 is back for its sixth edition in Berlin on the 23rd and 24th of June. UX 360 Europe is one of the Europe's leading events dedicated to advancing UX research as a strategic and business driving function. The summit brings together global speakers, practical case study, and actionable frameworks focused on the full research journey, from planning and execution to stakeholder alignment and business impact. Attendees can expect sessions on cutting-edge strategy, real-world return on investment, and the evolving role of research in today's organization. I will be there as well. And if you work in UX research, design, or product, this is truly one of the unmissable UXR events in Europe. And as a listener of the UX Research Club podcast, you get 15% off on your ticket with the code UXRC15. UXRC15. All the information will be in the note of this podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the UX Research Club, the podcast dedicated to the exploring and fascinating world of UX research. I'm Emmanuel, your host. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Linh Nguyen Slater. Linh is a seasoned research leader with over 15 years of experience designing and testing cutting-edge products across industries, from financial services and healthcare to automotive and consumer technology. She's passionate about leveraging customer insight to create meaningful, human-centered innovation and helping organizations design products that truly resonate with people. Currently, Linh is a head of research at NatWest, where she leads the research division to enhance the digital experience of retail banking customers. Before that, she established the AI research division at Jaguar Land Rover and led the customer science team with Dyson Health and Beauty Innovation Labs. Linh is widely recognized as a thought leader in human-centered design. And today, she is here to share her insight on creating products that people love. Let's dive in. Welcome, Linh, and so nice to see you today and to have you in the UX Research Club. How are you doing?
Yeah, very, very good. It's a busy season right now, just with the kids starting school and getting ready for performance reviews.
So, one question, I already introduced you in the intro of this podcast, but I would like to, for people who don't know you, well, maybe to start with, how did we meet? Do you remember the first time we met?
I had to look up the dates, but it was July 20. I was just finishing my master's at Loughborough University. And I started interviewing because I really wanted to stay in the UK after graduation. And I had an interview with you at Thomas Reuters. It was in Canary Wharf. I cannot remember anything about the interview, but I do really remember you. I think you were the first research leader that I really met in my career. And I remember thinking, wow, she's just so cool, like strong, confident, competent. You had all the answers. You knew exactly what needed to be done, like hiring the team, the research labs, scary stuff about visas. Like you knew it all and had everything under control. So that was a really important moment for me because I remember thinking, I want to be like her one day. And I think over the years, like I kind of followed your path.
Oh, thank you so much. But I remember, I can visualize the room where we were in. And I remember when we did this interview, yeah, I remember very well. I can't remember the content, but, I don't think I was so confident back then. But if you thought I came across as confident and knowing what I was doing, my God, it's such a long time ago. I changed so much and I evolved so much over the years. Wow. You were, the second person I was recruiting in my entire career, because you know how is research. we used to be just researcher doers, and we didn't have line management back then. It was the beginning of starting having some reports. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so what would be very nice today is for you to share a bit of your background and why you became a UX researcher.
Okay, so I'll start with my background and I'll give a funny story on how it all happened. So, hello everyone. My name is Linh Nguyen Slater. I'm a research leader with a background in ergonomics and building new technologies in R&D. So, I'm one of those researchers that is comfortable evaluating physical devices, digital experiences, and working with the data team to refine AI algorithms. When I came to after my master's, I got the chance to set up the research division in Jaguar Land Rover's AI labs. That was really fun, very interesting. We got 4 patents with the new technology we created. After that, I went on to lead the consumer science team at Dyson. Once again, super cool projects, and I led the team of, it was not just peer researchers, we had behavioral psychologists and sensory scientists. I was responsible for the research program for AI in hair care devices. And then afterwards, I moved on to NatWest Commercial Banking, where I was the first ever research hire in the
Wow.
history of the company. They had always done agencies, right? So I was brought in as a permanent hire to set up the research division, which I did. And then I went on to retail banking to lead the research team. So we're responsible for the digital transformation across the bank, mobile, web,
Yeah.
new propositions to help our 20 million customers.
Wow. I've been following you all those years, when we met the first time at Thomson Reuters interviews, but I've been keeping an eye. We've been on LinkedIn. I've been keeping an eye on you, looking what you've been doing. I remember when you went to Jaguar and Dyson. I said, wow, she's doing great. I'm so happy for her. It was nice to see that. And especially at this time, research was still a new discipline. And I remember now what I liked about your profile. Okay, that's your ergonomics background. I
Mm,
really like that. And
yeah.
human factors and all that. So I'm not surprised actually you took this journey, Jaguar and Dyson, because human factor and risk limitation was very important for those products. So wow. I know you arrived in the UK several years ago, and as I also arrived in the UK a long time ago. It's always nice to ask, why did you make this choice to come to the UK and where were you before?
Yeah. So I think it's down to these moment of clarities in my
Yeah,
life. Because first moment of clarity I had was when I was in third year university. I was supposed to be pre-medicine, so apply for med school afterwards. And I took this course called Intro to Ergonomics. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this is for me. It's a mix of art, science, and engineering. It's just perfect. So that was my first moment of clarity. After graduation, I had a job as an ergonomist for the healthcare region in
yeah,
Alberta. So I went into hospital spaces and found ways to make it safer for patients and staff. And I still remember I was at the Children's Hospital, the Calgary Children's Hospital, and I was helping a sonographer return to work. So we are looking at her
yeah.
workstation, and then she showed me her ultrasound machine, and we're kind of figuring out ways like how she can adjust her wrist so it wasn't so painful. So how can she return to work and use this product without getting hurt? And I had this aha moment where I was thinking, why am I teaching her to adjust to this machine? Why am I asking her to adjust to this machine when really the machine should have been built for her? So then I thought in that moment, I should be building technologies. I love that intersection of technology and people. So that was in February. And in September, I was in the UK. So I knew that going to the UK, getting my master's would open up the doors for me to work in R&D and build products and technologies. So that was really why I ended up in the UK. I don't know if this happened to you, but I was like, "Oh, I'll go there for 1 year because the masters are only 1 year. Go back to Canada. It'll be simple." And then, of course, you met me in July. I was like, "Oh, I really wanna stay."
Yeah.
And, it's been 13 years since.
Yeah. When I arrived, it was only for a year or two.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been here 31 years. Could you believe it?
Mm.
It's crazy. You just come. And I think I think moving countries, get a training, having new experience, you never know what could happen. But it's such a rich experience anyway. So I will really encourage people who say, okay, you've got a year, go and try to study abroad, try to meet other people, new cultures. I think is very important.
Definitely what I recommend to, like, all my friends. I think there's a real discomfort in it, where, like, you don't wanna change what's comfortable and familiar, but
Yeah,
I found that every time I made a big change, like, bigger change, bigger risks, bigger reward.
absolutely. So let's talk about work and your role at the moment. So tell us about what you do, what is your role exactly at the
Okay.
moment.
So, right now as, the leader of the research team in retail banking, just to define, retail banking is kind of consumer banking. So what you and I have in our pockets and our mobile apps. So I lead the research for retail banking. We sit across mobile, web, and new propositions. So I have researchers embedded in each space. And of course, like any research and product development,
Mhm.
we try to de-risk business decisions, launches by getting the voice of the customer into the product development cycle. I'm really proud of the team because we did two big things, well, three big things. The first is we've created a much more inclusive recruitment practice. So as a default, we recruit 20% people with access needs and 20% of people with in vulnerable situations in all of our qual, and that's just, like, bare basis. I'm proud of that. The second thing that I'm super proud of is that when AI landed, everyone was really scared, but we as a team experimented together, and now we're total AI pioneers. And the third thing is, as a team, we've been collectively working together to upskill our HCD department on how to do certain types of unmoderated
Mm.
usability studies. So, yeah, we do the work and then we do a little extra, improving the craft, getting more people to do certain types of research, and then also experimenting with AI.
Yeah, that's great. It really resonates to me. So how many researchers are working in your team?
We have 8 perms, and then we kind of drift up and down with contractors, so anywhere from 10 to 12 in total.
Okay. And you don't have enough researcher, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good problem to have, especially now because, over years, bit by bit, tactical research, and then it's like, "This is a proposition space," or, "Can you do this work in discovery?" And now it's like, "Can you do this strategic project that's, like, really important? It's gonna go directly to the exco." So we've really, like, shifted up. We do both still, but, like, as we shift up, it's like, "Oh, actually, we have less resources to, like, do all those meaty projects because they require a lot of time, a lot of resource, and it's like that intensity."
Mm. Yeah, so we're always short of researchers. But I find that actually to work on the prioritization, to really look at the impact. Say,
Mhm.
when we pick a project, we need to have a business impact. If there is no business impact, it's no point to do it. So we can really prioritize what we are taking on.
When you prioritize, do you do it as like a research team or do you do it as like a HCD team
So
together?
what we do quarterly, we do research intakes. So we speak the manager reporting to me. They go and speak with product design, all their peers, everyone, head of design and product to understand what are the needs. If they have anything in the pipeline, we make the list of all the requests. We may also have some ideas or we see we need to follow up on this. So we make the list of all the different possible potential project. Then we create a little quick summary and see which type of methodology more or less roughly we want to use. We mix methods, so
Mhm,
we can pick the methods and we can see roughly how long the project will last. And then after we look at the business priority and we look at if this is needed now. Is there any also dependency with other part of the business when it needs to be done? So we prioritize it, and then we look at our capacity. Capacity planning. How many researcher? Which one with which skill? Because you are not going to ask for a survey an anthropologist, and you are not going to ask someone which is very strong in quant to do an ethnographic piece of work. So
mhm,
we've got this spectrum of researchers. So we can really pick the right researcher for the right project.
mhm,
And then after we have a conversation with the head of design, because we are under the same branch, to see if they are happy with it. And then we present it to the director of product.
Mhm.
and we prepare a commitment of what we want to do, but at the moment where they can also change stuff, because we already discuss everything with their team members.
Mhm.
So unless there is something new coming up, then we can move things around, and then we're having this meeting and we commit, and then we can revisit. It's not set forever, but if some changes and ad hoc things are coming, we also have another route as well for ad hoc and emergency piece of work.
So it sounds like you start with the research team with the strong collaborations that exist in the business.
Yes.
You sense check with the design team, and then you present collaboratively to the head of product.
Yes, we do design testing, tactical, but we don't do, it's probably 30% of our work.
Mhm.
70% will be more strategic. So we really shift.
Mhm.
And all the work which is unmoderated, it's not us doing it, it's the designer doing it.
Oh, nice.
So we don't do any of the unmoderated.
You reached the promised land.
Yeah, but it's hard work, I tell you. Oh my God, So I think we reach, and I think in my new book, which people I will talk about it at the end of the podcast. But I talk about the different work streams we are doing, and I explain the structure and how we prioritize. So it's really, I think we reach a maturity where I'm very happy with. We could do better, work more probably with data analytics and.
Mhm.
But we do work cross-functional, and yeah, I reached a point where finally I managed to put in place. I had a lot of bits in different organization, but I managed to put everything more or less in place. But yeah, so stop talking about me, talking about you. What is your biggest achievement?
Wow.
But something you are so proud of it, and it's your biggest. You may think it's your biggest achievement.
Okay, well, obviously, it's my boys, my twins, that are just such wonderful kids, and, we're building a life that is enjoyable, so, like, I work, I spend time with family, we go on holidays, so I feel like I'm living a very good life, so that's one, but I think in terms of achievements, that's crazy hard to answer, into one, so I might dabble in there's so many. Oh, okay, so maybe I'll highlight 2 things. One work and one, outside of work. So the one thing I'm really proud of, with my work is in Jaguar Land Rover, we worked in R&D, so everything was top secret, and when I was there it was the first time in history we were opening up our doors to the PR department so they could come in and talk about the work that we were doing in a way that was, like, not sharing trade secrets, and I was the first one to put up my hand to say, like, "Our team's getting right in there," and that meant that I got training in PR training. I was part of a working group that created, like, this proof of concept so we could explain what an intelligent car could do for you in the future, and then I ended up presenting it to, the British press, the EU press. Is it Autocar? There was, like, a really famous car magazine. I can't remember what it was, but, like, I just pushed us and our team right to the forefront, and it would've been easy just to, like, head down, do the work, get the product created, but, like, I saw this huge opportunity and I went for it, and I think I still get the benefits of that PR training, even to today. So that I think I'm very, very proud of that. The second thing that I'm super, super proud of in my career is that I've always given back to the community. So, of course, look at me. I don't look like everyone else, especially I'm also a woman that's mainly worked in engineering. So, when I was at Jaguar, I joined like a women in engineering group. And through that, they connected me with this entrepreneurship program. So, Oxford and Cambridge were setting up an entrepreneurship program for their postdocs. And then they were looking for industry facilitators. So I applied. The program's called Rising Wise, and I've been an industry facilitator and coach for 8 years, and that's been such a highlight of my life because I get to personally coach these, like, brilliant women. Everyone involved in the program is just so positive and inspiring, and, like, you gotta see their credentials. They're, like, incredibly like, in medicine and engineering, one of them is a rocket scientist. NASA made an exception to give her an international visa to work for their propulsion systems. But I think I'm so proud of that because I love that community that I'm a part of. It feels like going home every year that I participate in the program. And of course, through mentorship, right? Like every time you commit, you get so much back. And to see all these women come in like at a certain state and to see it transform and then to
Yeah.
see them go on and succeed, that's been really, really amazing.
Yeah, it's nice to see. I think it's very nice to give back to the community. This podcast, for example, is giving back to the community. Everything I've been doing all my career, it's always to give back. The books I'm writing, it's to give back. Takes time to do all that, but it's really is very important. Or going to conferences, sharing, doing workshops, sharing, giving back. I think is very important, especially with our discipline. We need to continue supporting the new generation, the new people coming in research, and research involve all the time, with AI now. So, it's manic. We need to keep moving, adapting, and improving and get better. So we need also to support the new community to have also this mindset to continue like this and not stay stuck in their old way of working. Just imagine for us if we stay the same way we were years ago, okay, we won't be where we are today. We won't have this type of role. We won't be, leaders in the industry. So that's what is very important to give back and to keep evolving. So we talk about your biggest achievement. I would like to go back a little bit to the definition of leadership because everyone got their own definition.
I think I don't have a prepared answer. I think for me, leadership is the ability to inspire and guide a large group towards a common goal. So I think you've said this before, like you don't need the title to show leadership. Like,
Yeah.
can you take this group of people with different needs and motivations and move them towards the same goal? Pull in the same directions. I think that is really effective leadership.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it. Yeah, really plus one about your definition. And absolutely, you don't need to manage people to be a leader. You can be a team of one and to be an amazing leader to influence the business direction is what we
Mhm.
do. And I think that's what is important. It's to really influence and bring people together to actually achieve the goals.
I would say one recommendation I have for our listeners is I find that some of our researchers, they're so focused on rigor and non-bias. So, of course, I completely agree that our research has to be non-biased, has to be ethical, all those kind of things. But what I want to see from our community is do the research in the right way. But afterwards, I would really like us to have our own stance and give that direction rather than like, you could do this, consider that. Like these really light and fluffy recommendations. I want us to, like, as craft, just provide more directions because, like, why not us? We know just as much as our designers, we know just as much as our product people. We know different things, but we have this like built up knowledge where we can. I think we have a smell, like a sense, like nope, that's not going to work.
Yeah,
You don't even need to test that. It's not going to work in market. And so yeah, I think that's one element of leadership that I would love to see from the community is more do the research, but also have a stance, give that direction.
yeah, I agree with you because I find sometimes when I look at presentation of work where researchers are doing, it's going in detail, the methodology. First of all, as you know, decks are far too long, far too complex. We need to simplify everything if we want to have impact. But the
Mhm.
second thing is, I ask them, what do you think the business should be doing? And I keep saying, you've got the knowledge.
Yes.
You know, you don't need the permission to say what you already know, and everything you know is because you've got evidences. You are the one probably in the organization who have the more knowledge and evidence-based knowledge
Mhm.
who actually can influence you make the right decision. So if someone in the organization can actually make a recommendation, it's you.
Yeah, what I like to say to my team is like as we're reviewing like output meaty strategic research, big mixed method research programs, I'm like, each of us, if you were the CEO of the company, what direction would you want to go off the base of this research? And it's always like very uncomfortable, but it's like,
Yeah,
no, like you deserve this voice. You know so much. You talk to all of them. You know the
mm,
nuances. You can make this stance. You can have that stance.
yeah. So that's very important. And I totally agree with you. And it's nice to hear it from someone else as well. So, when you moved through leadership, did you have a plan ahead or it happened organically? What was your journey to move to leadership? How did things happen?
Okay, I think a little of both, but I think it's definitely a lot around having direction and a vision. So I think 2 things that helped is I'm an eldest daughter. I don't know where you are in the birth rate.
I'm the last one. I'm the baby one. I'm number 5.
You have a lot of big sister energy, but I'm the eldest, so I'm just kinda, like, used to, looking after people, thinking about what to do, you know, I don't mind being a little bit bossy, so I grew up like that. I remember when I was 16, I was really interested in leadership, so I took, like, leadership training. They did it within a context of becoming a camp counselor. So it's something that I've always been interested in, but where it, really changed was when I was at Jaguar. I was lucky enough to find a sponsor. So for the listeners out there, there's 3 things you need in your career. You need a sponsor, you need a coach, and you need a mentor. So the easiest is a mentor. They're like someone that has been through what you have been through. So I experienced this problem, this is how I solved it, this is how you should solve it. That's a mentor. A coach is somebody that has experience in different things, but they can kinda, check your mindset and really help you come up with a solution. But the sponsor is the hardest one because you can't pay for a sponsor and you can't really ask for a sponsor. They have to find you. And that's why I mentioned the PR. When I was at Jaguar Land Rover, I did great work and, like, worked across the collaborated across the department, but, like, putting your hands up for those to speak to the press. I put up my hand to run huge workshops across the department for innovation and design thinking. It's putting up my hand all the time, so a sponsor found me and said, "Hey, I wanna, like, help you in whatever way." So this is where it comes back to, like, was it a plan? So one of the exercises my sponsor, helped me to do was he said in all of his leadership training, this was the most powerful exercise he ever experienced, and it is this exercise called, My Day in 20 Years. So what you do is you don't have to, set aside 6 minutes or 10 minutes, and you write out your day in 20 years. So you have to mention how old you are, how old all the people you care about are, and then you write everything in present tense. What time do you wake up? What do you eat? What do you do in your day? And, like, what are you driving? Where are you living? Everything in present tense. And because I did that exercise, I was like, "Oh, me in 50 years, I mean, in 20 years, is not who I thought I would be." And then off the back of that visioning exercise, I did like a 10-year plan and then a 5-year plan.
Mm.
And then I put it away and I didn't look at it, right? But because I was doing it in the background, I guess my mind was like looking for those opportunities and
Yeah.
saying yes whenever they aligned with that plan. So actually I pulled it up recently and I ended up because I wanted to be ahead of the department by the time I was 40. That was one of my plans and I got there 3 years early.
Ah, nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So, what is your next step? What do you want to do next?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. The most important things is I wanna keep developing my team. I wanna do great research that makes strategic impact with the business. And then what's next is perhaps like a larger remit. Yeah, it's a little bit undefined, but I know something is on the horizon.
Yeah. But it's nice to keep looking forward. One thing I like your plan, like making your life on the next 20 years, in 20 years' time in a present tense. I like it. I'm going to do it. I hope I should be retired by then easily. But what I will do as a retired leader in research,
Exactly.
and I'm sure I will still be doing something. So I will do the exercise and I will share it with you
Well,
actually.
it gives you, like, perspective in terms of, like, how you want to live your life. Are you running from meeting to meeting? Like, do you have time to eat lunch with somebody you care about? What are you doing after work? Like, it just makes you think about that day in, like, hour slots, and then you kind of figure out, like, that kinda lifestyle that you're actually working towards might not be the one that you thought would be ideal
Yeah.
for you. Yeah, so it was life-changing.
So I'm going to ask you something very personal
Mhm.
to you, but we talk about it. You talk about a burnout that you went through during your journey. And not many people are talking about it when it happened. And I think you nicely open up to me and say you'd be happy to talk about it. So, yeah, what happened and how did you manage it?
Yeah, okay, so I'll tell everyone about the worst burnout I ever experienced in my life. I like you and like many people listening, I work hard and I wanna do my best and, like, have good and positive impact, but it was too much. So what happened was I had just started in, Dyson's health and beauty division in January 2020. So you know where this is going. And
Yeah.
3 months later, we went into complete lockdown. My kids were 4 at the time, so I had a new job. We had to homeschool, and none of the nurseries were open, so this is what I had to do. I had to wake up at 5 AM, do work for 4 hours, and then at 9, I would take care of the kids, and my husband would, work. And then we'd have lunch together, and then from 1 to 5, I would work, and then we'd hang out with kids, make dinner, clean up. So it was like 5 AM till 9 PM for months and months, and then there was that. Like, it was just the workload, a new department. I also had to upskill a ton because I was in charge of the hair care division for research. I had to, like, become a hair scientist, which was, like, a whole thing, but I did manage to become, like, a complete expert within 6 months. But there was that, and then one of our loved ones got really terminally ill during that time, and the workload, the environment, and then just this family member not doing well, I crashed out, like, I couldn't get up, like, just couldn't do it anymore, and, I think for me, what made the difference was, and it's not what you expect, uh, I think I made a commitment to myself that I was gonna send my energy, like, I don't wanna do this anymore, I'm gonna send my energy out there, and I wanna slow down and talk about energy. I was reflecting and preparing for this podcast, and I think the amazing thing about thinking about you and your energy is it knows no barriers. So it doesn't have any self-doubt. It doesn't have any fear. So when you say, I want to send my energy out there, I don't want it here anymore, your mind starts to act and think differently. So how that played out in my life was, I started saying no to extra tasks or volunteering tasks at work. I started saying no to the extracurricular stuff that I was doing for shouting about research. I was a real proponent for it. So I kind of stripped down my role into just the project work and just my team, and then at home, my husband and I figured out a way where I didn't have to do every bedtime, for example. So the moment I shifted my energy, I think I just kinda, like, it just sifted downwards, and just I still can't believe it. Just a few days later after I was like, "No, like, my energy needs to go elsewhere," a recruiter messaged me on LinkedIn, "Hey, do you wanna work for NatWest?" And of course, at first I was like, no, I don't wanna work for a bank. I'm like, my heart is in R&D. This is what I came to the UK for. And then he said, "Oh, no, no, right now we're looking for people that don't have banking experience. We're trying to shake things up. We're trying to find innovators and people that can change the way we work. Why don't why don't I introduce you to the team? They're looking for someone that can set up their first research, division." I was like, "Okay." So that's a very long-winded story to say that, burnout does happen, especially when things pile up. So suddenly the coping mechanisms you used to have, they just don't work because there's just too much, piled on. And I think about your energy and where you want it to go because it kinda impacts the decisions you make, and it also attracts. I find, like, there's something about thinking about your energy that it suddenly, like, attracts the things that you want and the positive things.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think it's very important for people to realize that, burnout happen and we are human. And I find that as a woman as well, I think we have so much on our shoulder and so much pressure as women to perform. We want to prove we can do better than men, all those things, which that's why we are highly performant in the organization. We want
Mhm.
to do more. But if we need to be very careful because we can't do so much. There's so much. We need time to recover and recharge as well. And that is very important. So, talking about that is what it is like for you to be a woman in leadership and in UX research. male as well environment in the industry. So how did you find that, and how did that work for your leadership career?
I think the answer isn't what people expect, especially because most of my career has been in engineering and now it's in digital banking. So I think being a woman in engineering, but being a scientist in engineering, I would say it played in my favor, but it what didn't detract me in the sense that I look different, I think different, and I bring a different impact to the table. So for us, the technology development, we were such a strong team. We're one of the highest performing teams in the department 3 or 4 years in a row. We're like really, really strong. So when I was at Jaguar Land Rover, like it was a good thing because it wasn't about me being a woman, it was about me being a scientist and bringing something different to the table. When I went into Dyson's, innovations lab, it didn't stand out because everybody was trying to innovate and do something different. So once again, we're all pulling in
Mm,
the same direction. And now in banking, it's a little bit more balanced because bankers have like more balanced intake. So I don't think it's impacted me too negatively, but I will be real in the sense that there's two truths. So the first one is that it's not fair, but women are held to a higher standard, especially in leadership. It's something I'm aware of, but I don't get bogged down. Like, I don't think about it all the time. I like acknowledge it and then move through it. So I think that can be really hard. And to get over it, I rant with my friends and other leaders. So I think that the standards and expectations are always going to be higher for women because of the biases that
mm,
exist structurally. And the second thing is I have felt it in my career, not too many times, but I can see some of my male peers progress a little bit quicker or, get into the work or organization a little bit faster than women because they have that old boys club. We got to be real, it exists. And I can see how it's just so much easier for them because they're being invited to extra meetings. They have like these extra connections
mm,
that it's not impossible for us, but it's just a little bit harder and a little bit more friction. So I think overall, try not to think about it
mm.
and do good work, but then I also acknowledge it. I don't ignore it. Acknowledge that there is a divide that does exist, and then I try to like move through it in like a collaborative way and like really push everyone in the same direction. And we're trying to like we have the same ambition and mission, right? Like we want to do well for the business and our customers. So like let's just work together.
Very interesting. And one thing I would like to ask you as well, what went well in your career and what was more challenging? Because, it's not like a linear line. We've got ups and downs like everyone.
Yeah, I'll start with what did not go well because I think it's really important. So, I've made tons of mistakes. Like the first time I managed somebody, I was like a really crappy manager in the sense that I built up a good relationship, but then when they started underperforming, I like jumped in the project and kind of took over, which is not the right thing to do. But that was my first time managing. So I feel like if you're gonna start managing people, like just expect yourself to make mistakes, and you might not be like the best manager, right out of the gates. So I was a bad manager for my first person that I hired. Things that didn't go well was when I started leading a team I didn't hire, because they joined the team for somebody else. And, the circumstances in which they were hired was like very intense and rushed. So that was probably my biggest leadership challenge and, turning the team around. It was absolutely really, really difficult. What else has gone wrong? I think I didn't realize this when I was, being so ambitious and I had all these big plans, is as you rise up in the ranks, you have to deal with a lot more challenges. And by challenges, I mean like a lot more difficult conversations. And that's like a skill you just have to like keep flexing because you just have more and more difficult conversations with your team, your peers, your boss's boss. The stakes are much higher. So that's been huge lesson, and I was like, "Oh, I wish I had learned that when I was, like, just a senior, just a lead," like, leaning into super difficult conversations, and yeah, I think it's been pretty hard being a leader and a mom because, literally the kids get sick. So then I've, like, worked so much while I was sick, which I try not to do anymore. So I think those are, like, the things that, if I stop, I could probably think of lots more things that went wrong because the road to life and leadership. It's so bumpy. Like, why would you expect it to be perfect? I think that's one of our issues as like probably overachievers and high performers is like, I've always been able to figure it out. So why not now? But actually, it's not a realistic expectation as you go up because the complexities and the stakes are so much higher. So I think one thing I would like our listeners to know, and one thing I would have set aside for myself is like, as you progress and as you get your next promotions, really set aside like a little bit of space for you to experience a setback because they're going to happen. So that's probably it. Things that went well. I feel like I did mention this, but to help me get over burnout, I started meditating like really intensely every single day. And because I started meditating when I was pregnant with my twins, so this was 2016. Because in that situation, I went from like a pregnancy to a high risk pregnancy. So there's a lot of like chances that I was not gonna be okay and the babies were not gonna be okay. So I started meditating, and because I meditated, I didn't worry anymore. It was just like, "Oh, meditating." So then when they were born early, but they were born healthy, and if I had been anxious the whole time, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. So the reason I mention, the meditation is it helps you obviously control your anxiety and intrusive thoughts, but it also makes you more aware and attuned. So when you're attuned, you pay attention and you take action, right? I think for me, meditation just, like, unlocked that for me. And of course, you go into meditation to do it and not for any benefit. But because I was meditating all the time and I'm so like paying attention and I'm trying to be aware, I just spotted all the opportunities.
Mhm.
So, the opportunities for the PR, the opportunity to move over to Dyson, the opportunity for NatWest,
Yeah.
this one opportunity to move to retail. Like you just spot it. And even though you don't want to, or maybe you feel not ready, you just go for it because you're like aware.
So I find like, yeah, I think it's great about meditation. What I do is I've got a very good routine with yoga, Pilates, swimming, ballet. Yeah, so actually, I'm going to ballet in an hour time
Yes.
after we record.
Oh.
And this routine, and do breathing. Last night I went to a breathe and a sun bath. Just it helped me to recenter because so much is going on between and the complexity of the work we're doing, joining the dots, having the conversation, speaking up, speaking size, speaking down, as well as understanding what's going on, plus the life you have. My kids are left home now, but I remember when I had two young kids, 1 year, 13 months apart. So they are not twins, but 13 months apart. I was a single mom as well, doing my job at the same time, living abroad, no family around. So I remember I needed like to have the yoga or to go swimming to just think, recenter.
Mhm,
But also, yes, you're absolutely right to have those moments, which are meditative moments, like swimming. It's when you swim
mhm,
and head under the water. Of course, you go typically in a meditative state. You start being definitely much more aware of where you want to go, your direction, what is important, what is not important. And when you see something popping out in your life, you say, "Oh, already, I wanted that, but I didn't want it right now. It's
mhm,
coming. Let's go in that direction." And I really believe in that. I think all my career, I know I had a North Star, what I wanted to achieve, what I
mhm,
wanted to do. I still have a North Star. I had to reshape it because
mhm,
I reached some point already. So I've got a new extension of my primary North Star. But the work to provide me what I need to go through. The journey is very unpredictable. You
mhm.
just need to be open-minded.
Emmanuel, I'll tell you a funny story. It wasn't funny at the time exactly of something like that. So, in 2019, I was thinking like, I feel like I've hit a ceiling at Jaguar Land Rover. I wonder what's next for me. And I thought about getting out of automotive and into health and beauty because like that's just something I love. Probably from studying medicine, I love the human body and getting the most out of it. And I love beauty because I used to be a makeup artist for Sephora. So I made this intention that I'm gonna find a way to work for Dyson's health and beauty division. And then so this thing came up where you could work for Dyson Automotive because they were trying to make their own electric vehicle. So I was like, I'm gonna take this job and then get into Dyson Health and Beauty in a few years, right? So took the job, moved my family across the country. It was very difficult with childcare. And then 6 months later, the company closed down. Everyone was put on a redundancy. I had to apply for all these jobs, but the job I took was
The health and beauty.
health and beauty, and I did this goal within 9 months instead of 2 or 3 years, and it was in, like, the most unpredictable way. I wasn't like, "I'm gonna go through a redundancy process, and then I'm gonna get this dream job." Like, it just kinda happened, and the reason it happened it's because we had that North Star or we set a direction, and then, of course, I got that dream job, and then the pandemic and everything made it not so ideal, so it wasn't the right thing for me anymore, but I got there, and it's all because, you're paying attention, and you set that North Star for yourself.
And I like what you said, that it was not for me anymore. It is
Mhm.
okay. When you realize you are somewhere, is something you wanted, you are there, your experience is, this role or what you're doing, and then you realize it's not good for you anymore. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think people tend to forget about it. We're empowered to make all the decisions which are good for us. Maybe a couple of questions. So,
Mhm.
one could be, which advice would you give the listener of the UX Research Club if they want to grow as leaders and or if they want to become a leader? Okay.
Yeah, I thought really deeply about this, like, what would I have told myself when I was, like, 28 back at JLR? And I had all these big dreams. The number one thing I would say is you have to put up your hand, like, "Try this, try that." It's not enough to do fantastic research. That's just table stakes, like being an excellent researcher. That's good, but it's not good enough. So you have to work on ways to increase your presentation skills, work on ways so you're, like, put in front of the department more, so then those sponsors can
Right.
find you. So definitely put up your hand. The second one was get as much practice with difficult conversations as possible. Something's not going your way or, in the way that the project needs, you need to talk with those people because the more experience you have leading into those conversations, you're just gonna be so much more leadership ready. And a pro tip, this is my favorite way to give feedback. It's just a simple framework. It's called the E squared C squared. So if you need to talk to somebody, you gotta give them the evidence of what they did, the effect it had on yourself or, the team or project. And then the 2 C's are you're asking for them to change, like, "This is the behavior I want to see from you." Or, you can also mention like, "Oh, continue with these are the things that, you are doing well, so continue." So learn how to give negative feedback or, have constructive conversations. The other thing we're looking for, when I'm thinking about my succession planning is, are they able to lead through others, right? So
Mm.
this means that did you put your hand up for a working group and you had to, like, herd the cats to deliver on this extra
Mm.
thing? So it's not good enough to be like, you led this project and you were awesome and the project was successful. You have to, like, demonstrate there were these group of people, we didn't know what we were doing, and I got them, galvanized them, and then we, like, delivered on this really important project, side of desk or, like, as part of a transformation program. And then the other thing is you have to be clear, like, you have to be clear about where you want to go, so take those times to reflect, you know, meditate or, do your walking because you need to take time out of your day to think about what you want for yourself. A lot of researchers that I talk to, they're like, "Oh, I'm just too busy doing my work. Like, I haven't thought about my career." Well, like, that's the one thing you can't outsource, right? So, you need to just carve a little bit of time to reflect and think about the direction you wanna get to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all your insight, your sharing your life experience. I think you've had such an amazing journey and you still have a lot ahead of you. So it's so nice. I can't wait to keep checking on your profile, having conversation with you to see where you will be in 5 years. I think it's amazing to see how you empower yourself to be a great leader. So, do you want to add anything else?
Oh, yeah, one thing that I am starting for myself and for the community is I'm opening up very limited, coaching spots. So, for the past 8 years, I've been mentoring, like, aspiring leaders from the Oxford and Cambridge community, and now I'm gonna offer it a little bit wider. So if you're a senior, individual contributor or aspiring leader, maybe you're leading a team for the first time, like, I'd love to talk with them.
Okay. So I will put the details in the description so how they can contact you, Lynn. So it was so nice to speak with you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And I hope to see you very soon. Okay.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Have a great day. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the UX Research Club. Okay. Bye.